So we were talking about the castas, and you said you didn't know where they came from. They came from the Reconquista. When the Visigoths became Spaniards, they joined up with the Celto-Iberian Romano population. They converted to Catholicism, and they kicked out the Moors and the Jews, and the ones that they didn't kick out, they forced to convert. So once those people were converted, then they created a system of castes that measured how much blood of a certain kind you had in it. Are you familiar with the term Hidalgo?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what does that mean to you?
Whereas those are like kind of like the nobles, kind of not lords during the Middle Ages, but they work for like big lords.
Oh. Well,
and they have a lineage.
lineage tracing back to the original Visigoths.
Yeah.
Or the original lords who weren't conquered by the Moors. So, so that was Castas. How does Castas affect Spain now?
I would say to an underground level, because it's not something they may call it public. But like I was saying before, there've been a lot of cases where these people do something really weird. They call it attention of public, and all of a sudden, like media divert the information. And there was a big scandal in the middle of the 90s where 3 girls disappeared in the same area under pretty weird circumstances, and after trying to find them for many years, the news made it to the television. Someone took it really seriously and started to invest and research a little bit more on it, and they couldn't come up with any conclusion. But like 2 or 3 years ago, I was reading that they're releasing all the information, and it traces back to the castas.
The Castas, do you mean the upper class of the Castas?
I would say upper class, but it's more to do with like upper class at business levels. This is really powerful people that have a lot of property, a lot of land, a lot of factories, and they have a lot of power. So in a way, they connect to each other to empower themselves and keep it in the down low, I would say.
And they're called the Castas, like these people, or how does
The castas as itself is what you really mean, what you explained to me before. But these
a system of racism?
The way the castas has been used in Spain is like I think it's the left wing is actually starting to use it for people to see that there's certain classes in society that are not able to see for everybody. So now it's become a more popular term, but I think it doesn't have all the fully definition of what casta is.
Yeah, it only talks about. How do you feel that the old system of castas, which was basically an apartheid system, would you agree?
I would say so, and I think we're starting to find out that after we have 25 years of a dictatorship with Franco.
Yeah.
He replaced the king. He actually took it off, but when he was dying, he arranged everything to bring back the monarchy. So with that, it was kind of keeping the power into the castas, because there were politicians, but there was only 2 sides to choose at the beginning that democracy started. One was the left wing, which was the people that lost the war, so apparently at the beginning they didn't have much to say.
Yeah.
And the right wing, it was like people that came straight from the party of Franco. They were like in disguise or whatever, but we're seeing where they come from and what's their policy and their way of doing it. And they're extremely linked to all this
hierarchy?
Hierarchy, yeah.
Yes, the old noble hierarchy of the castas. And they were fascists.
Which in Europe, in my opinion, is quite scary, because every time there's been like a fascist power, church jump in, and monarchies jump in, just to benefit from that kind of power.
What kind of power do you feel the Catholic Church holds in Spain over? Big.
Because we're coming to a point where like the average person is not a pretty religious person, but because there's so much pressure from the religion, everybody still do the communion, get married in church, and it's like the old kind of view how things should go. And those people are these days some of the people that are creating that hate and fear towards the refugees that's problem, because they wanna stay in the power, and they don't want to see any potential threat.
What about you know a lot about the history of the colonies of Spain as well. You researched this?
I've researched a little bit more on the South American side.
Yeah.
I don't know that much about like everything they did in the Philippines or like.
Yeah. What do you know about Peru? Because I'm actually profiling at random a Spanish country.
Peru took the worst part because when Hernan Cortez got there,
It wasn't a Pizarro.
I think Pizarro was one of the pioneers that was with
Well,
Columbus.
Cortez was the one who went to Mexico, and Hernando Pizarro, or I don't know if his name was Hernando, but I know Pizarro.
Francisco Pizarro, but I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure. Like I've read part of the Peruvian culture in the north, and it started with Hernan Cortez because he was seen as a king, and he was brought like he was treated like a god pretty much, and then he betrayed
The Incan.
the Incan Empire and fucking ripped all the gold and started conquering under the name of God. And it was the same kind of deal, conversion or that.
Yeah. And what about the Inquisition? And like system of informers and that kind of culture, the thought crime culture.
In my opinion, yeah, that's what it was. It's like if you don't have the same kind of beliefs that we're gonna target you, and that's what they kill witches or like all the Celts that didn't have that kind of belief and they were doing their thing.
And the Jews who had converted as well were a big target, and the Moors who had converted.
That's what I seem to grasp most of the time. It's like a way to create hate and put people on one side to fight the other and keep the power in the same place.
Yeah, well, they learned this from the Romans because they were alternately enemies and clients of the Romans, and eventually...
And they were the first ones that did it throughout religion, too.
Yes, yes. Well, I mean, I personally see the Roman Church... I don't want to talk about the religion because I don't really care about how people interact with God. That's not of concern with me. But the Church, the organization, the Vatican... I feel it's really more a continuance of the Roman state religion, which, to be fair, wasn't all bad. I mean, it provided a framework in society, and those societies are stable. And
there's definitely really good values in it. It's just the way it applies and the way.
But yeah, the thought crime
power,
thing.
Right?
Yeah, the thought crime and like having to control what people think.
It's
and,
like imposing.
Yeah, imposing. Right? Yeah. With violence, with quite serious violence even.
And most of the time, what it really plays the role is fear. Because you see what they've done to the other person for thinking differently, and you don't want to even risk it, right?
Yeah, yeah. I think that pretty much covers. How do castas affect the tradition of castas affect people in Spain who aren't of a good pedigree?
I would say that's more evident in like places where they do like big farming, like olives or like big vegetable gardens and stuff, because they end up owning a lot of land and giving some work to some people under their conditions, and like it's land that should belong to everybody and everybody should be able to exploit it at their own pace, right? So what I'm saying is like those people that gain a lot of power, they keep gaining more and more power, and there's no real space for the power of the people.
Yeah, I'm talking more about the effect of the system of castas on the lower castas. So you're talking about the people who would be at the pinnacle of that system. I want to know more about how it still affects people who have mixed ancestry or don't have a lineage that they can show. Does that affect them in jobs or in society, marriage?
I don't really know how the system works itself from the inside. The hints I get from what I've seen is like, if you go to let's say like a private school where you have to pay for your education, Then you start hanging out with some certain people. I don't know if they just go by the lineage of surnames, last names, and stuff like that, or they actually do blood tests. But I'm pretty sure that in a place like Spain, it would be really hard to drive down because we have so many influence. Like we've been conquered by Arabs, like Romans, like you name it, we had it. So it's.
But they actually did keep a really good track of that for a long time, and it was really important in Spanish.
I guess in certain families, they could do it locally, but think about the geographic area they control and how many people were involved.
Yeah.
Like I'm from the north, and that was the part that resisted the most. Like I was pretty close to Asturias.
That was the first Visigothic kingdom after the Islamic conquest. Asturias.
That's the only remaining part from Spain. Like
after the Islamic conquest.
Yeah, they made it up to the mountains, but the people in the mountains were able to stop in them. Like they would go up and through rocks and like make them impossible because they knew the terrain, and they started reconquering from there.
Just like they did in the Napoleonic Wars, where the guerrillas, the little
same thing, like,
the Spanish peasants, the Spanish nobility fled before Napoleon, and the Spanish army was useless, but the Spanish peasants fought very hard.
That was the reason why the Civil War lasted so long, because the left wing was doing that kind of battle, like not the military norm thing. And
the Republicans, they were called. They were the left wing at the time. They were made up of anarchists.
And then got the help of the communists. And
a lot of Canadians went and volunteered in that. It was called.
A lot of Canadians, a lot of Americans,
a lot of
English people too.
A lot of communists from here went there to fight in that war.
You know, I read a lot about that, and the anarchists always said that the war was kind of in control till they got all the help from the communists, from Stalin, and they started militarizing and doing like the proper way. Then Franco started getting help from Hitler, and it was.
Most people don't realize that anarchists were part of the revolution in Russia, and as soon as the Bolsheviks took over, they killed them all right away.
Yeah.
So anarchists often help with a revolution, but it never benefits them.
But it was amazing what they really got to do in the places where the anarchists raised. Like Barcelona was one of the places. They took over the city. They started running all the businesses from the workers' perspective, and it was more productive than ever before. All the 5-star hotels were converted into like public eateries and stuff for people, and it was fucking flourishing, man. Like
it was flourishing.
Yeah.
What did they use for money, or like how did that work?
I don't really know how they did the whole money thing, but what people say is like, you know, even like the people in the farmlands and stuff will bring all their stuff they had, put it together to the cars. I'll have a tractor, I'll bring it to the cars. And everybody started working side by side, forgetting a little bit of the profit aspect. And they were able, like I said, just to take over the factories, make them work more efficiently, and having everybody involved in society.
And these were anarchists. What did they call themselves?
At the same time, there were two main parties. One was the CNT, and the other one, it was FAIT, F-A-I-T.
Do you know what that stands for?
CNT is like National Workers. I don't know. See what it would be like Confederation or something like that. And FAIT, I don't remember because it was more complex. But it was kind of the same cause and the same root. It was just like people that work in the farm raised up, and they're like, we don't want to take this.
And they control Barcelona, and that's in the present area that's trying to secede.
Yeah.
Which is Catalonia, which is different than Castile. What's the main city of Castile?
Castilla used to be where it was the old Spain reign. The main city in Castilla, then it was divided, and Madrid was centralized, and that's the capital. But Castilla y León is the province where the region where I'm from, and the main city is called Valladolid.
Called what?
Valladolid.
Huh.
But it's again the same thing. The government in that area used to be my city, León, and when they reunited, they brought it to Valladolid, which surprisingly is more like a casta city, like big landlords or.
What did the Basques do during the anarchist war?
They raised too, and they were powerful because they're kind of connected, right? Like all the Spanish side of the Pyrenees are connecting those areas. In between this Aragon, but yeah, they joined the left-wing side. And there was like a big movement in Madrid too. That was the last city that fell. But I guess at that point the fascists had already took over and they have all the army and the fight was lost.
Did you know that Englishmen, Scotsmen, and Irish are who their closest relative is?
The Basque.
The Basque, yeah.
Yeah.
And they're very closely related to each other, even though they think they're separate peoples.
I know because even Orlando up in Shishab, he did that kind of research with his family. They thought they were all from Ireland and they're connected to
The Basque, which is because they are all from Ireland, because all Irish people are from the Basque, or are of the same people. They're actually, like England is 74% Basque by population, right? And that's those are the original inhabitants of England. Same with the Scottish and the Irish, even though they adopted different cultures.
But it's funny because nobody really have come up with a theory that's explainable. Because like all the other languages in Spain have origin in Latin or some other languages, but the Basque language have no
Cognates.
They already haven't been able to connect it
Yeah.
to any other source.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's because they're original. They didn't come from anywhere else.
That's the point they're getting to.
Yeah. All right, thank you very much. I'm going to end this video here.